Okay, let's begin the roundtable. Welcome, everybody, to the October Sons of Liberty Roundtable. We'd like to start with an opening. Joe, since you have a flag, would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please?
I would love to. I pledge allegiance. Oh, wait. Should I face the flag? I don't know.
You're fine.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, the Republic, allegiance,
Yes. One nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty, justice for all. Joe, as an Eagle Scout, Scout Oath's Law, please.
Me?
You, yeah.
There's too many Joes here. I don't know what
Sorry.
Mr. Asty's rank is. If you could all please join me
I'm
in
on
the
life.
Scout Oath. Give it some time. If you please join me in the Scout Oath followed by the Scout Law. On my honor, I will do my best to do my duty to God and my country and to obey the Scout Law, to help other people at all times, to keep myself physically strong, mentally awake, and morally straight. A Scout is trustworthy, loyal, helpful, friendly, courteous, kind, obedient, cheerful, thrifty, brave, clean, and reverent.
Did you miss one, Joe?
3 or 4 at least.
Okay. Okay. Well, we have a somewhat busy agenda. I'm going to share screen. Okay. Steve asked me to ask folks if they've had any experience using the invitation manager that's associated with myscouting.org. Does anybody have any comments on that I can feed back to Steve?
I think they fixed the way to at least stop when you know that the person's never going to reply. At least there's that. Last year, it was like you'd get them over and over and over, and there's no way to stop it. So at least they fixed it, which is good.
So again, into an endless do loop.
Yeah, but it's at least give you an option to now stop them. So that's good.
So that's an improvement. Okay. Do you use it in the troop?
We do. I mean, we get notifications for people reaching out, looking for joining the troop, or just request information about the troop. So we usually get a few per month or so, and then occasionally there's actually we will reach out to them. Maybe a quarter of them will actually respond.
Yeah. That was my experience with it. They send you something and you try to catch up with them, and a significant proportion of the time it doesn't work. You don't get any further contact. Okay. Anybody else? Joe, do Cubs use it? Joe Curran? You don't know?
I don't have a Cub Scout pack. I know they can. I know they have access to it.
Okay. All right. Jason, you asked for some time to talk about rechartering, so come on down.
Thanks for having me. So rechartering has officially started. The rechartering system opened on October 1st. I think that every unit key 3 received an email as well as physical mail with necessary information for rechartering within the last week. So there's an instructional page that's on the council website that kind of goes through all the necessary steps, all the necessary parts, all the downloadable forms and pieces that units will need. We want to stress that rechartering is no different this year as it has been in years past. I think there's a lot of misinformation and a lot of half-truths with the fee increase that with the way that we're doing or not doing proration that's going to change the way that Cubs or new scouts are going to appear on rechartering. But the truth is, last year, if a scout had signed up in September, they would have paid for the last 4 months of the year plus an entire year going forward. This year, they pay for a year, and both times they show up as a no-fee scout on the rechartering. So, so they've already paid. Units aren't responsible for paying for them. They don't have to collect council or national dues for that scout. They just have to deal with their own local unit fees. We're also really encouraging all units to log in to Internet Advancement, where rechartering is, and log in this week, right? We just started rechartering, but a lot of times you've got new leaders, new Key 3, new committee chairs. They haven't been exposed to this. The earlier that they log in, the earlier that they see what rechartering looks like, the easier it is for them to ask questions, either from the registrars or from their unit commissioner, their district commissioner, myself. If they're not logging in until December 15th or December 20th, and the deadline is December 31st, now they're going to be competing with everyone else trying to not only get their questions answered, but submitting and resubmitting their charters with missing information and trying to fill in the necessary information. So we're trying to encourage all units, get out there now, log in. They should already have experience with using Internet Advancement. It's right there within Internet Advancement, and they can they can take a look at the way the recharter is set up and start to see if they have any issues, right? You're looking for leaders that have expiring YPT, wanting to make sure that you have all the necessary leaders for your unit, starting to ask parents and make sure scouts are going to renew for the next year, all things that should just be happening right now, but get them thinking about it as we get into get into the process. And like I mentioned, we're trying to not have this delay for the deadline. So we're also asking units to stop thinking about December 31st as being the deadline for rechartering and reframe it that it's December 1st. So while rechartering isn't changing this year, rechartering is going to dramatically change next year. And the system will get cut over in March, which means that we don't have an unlimited amount of time in the new year for units to be submitting things late and then the registrars having to chase them down for information. So what we want is we want units to submit early, submit complete, and get posted right on time at the end of the year. We don't want to see some of the stuff that we saw at the beginning of this year where units were submitting late and having to be chased down for things and weren't getting posted until April, right? Because then they're losing their insurance, they're losing access to Scoutbook, they're losing access to My.Scouting. It makes it difficult for the commissioners to be able to look at contact reports. So we just want to make sure that everyone is doing this as soon as possible, and the sooner the better, right? Because there's 300 units, in council, and there's 3 registrars. So it takes a long time for them to go through the information, make sure everything is complete. And if a unit is submitting an incomplete charter, if Denise sends an email to them and says, give us the information, even if they reply right back or the next day, that charter is now at the bottom of a pile, and the registrars are going to go through the other charters that are available, and then they're going to come back around. So, they have their own method, but it takes a long time for them to get through the 275, 280 charters that they have to. So I don't want to see anyone get left behind, but we want to encourage everyone to start early. And if there's any questions that people have, to elevate those, right? So, reach out to pretty much anyone that, within the district, folks should understand kind of how rechartering works. Reach out to Ken, reach out to John, reach out to unit commissioners, reach out to myself. I want to stress leveraging the commissioner staff as well. We can answer a majority of the questions, and we can keep the registrar focused on getting the paperwork done. So that's really what I wanted to kind of cover. I think that if folks do have questions, I'm more than willing to answer them now. But I do encourage everyone to take a look at the rechartering page, and tell all of your units that it's time to start. As of today, no one from Sons of Liberty has even logged into the rechartering system yet, so we can see that. So we do want to kind of push that message out. I think that for most units, it'll be pretty quick and easy once they get in there. But if they're missing something or they're trying to chase down people, that's where it gets bogged down.
Jason, there was some questions last month about the change in registration. So just tell me if I'm saying this right. A scout joins the unit on October 13th, 2023. That will be the day that he will renew for the next year. October 13th, 2024, he will be asked to pay his registration for the following year.
He'll be asked to pay. His expiration date will be September 30th, 2024. They bill in whole months.
Oh, so it was month.
Right.
Okay.
So the idea being that the scout came to a meeting on October 1st. By the time that they realized they wanted to join, it took a couple days. The parents signed them up. Maybe they've been with the unit for 2 meetings, right? So they kind of treat it the same way as health insurance. They cover you in retro for the month. So their expiration date will be September 30th, 2024. The parents will get a renewal notification starting 60 days out from that point. They'll get reminded on 60 days, 30 days, 15, 7, 1 after, and 7 days after expiration. So we don't know what that renewal reminder email looks like yet. We won't see those until sometime in June. But we do also know that the parents that are signing up their scouts now and they're paying, they are getting that opportunity to tokenize their credit card at this moment. So the email will be, in 60 days, we will automatically renew your scout unless you opt out. It won't be a scramble to say, oh, now you need to pay attention to this so that you can add a credit card. They've already captured that information from the parents. And we have been told that as a part of the renewal email, there will be an opt-out where parents can say, I want my scout to continue, but their unit is paying for them. And there will be an entire workflow for how units can have their scouts opt out of parent pay and opt into being covered by a unit. But again, we haven't seen that workflow yet.
Okay.
And Jason, is that include the council fee, the adventure card, or is that just going to be from National?
So when a scout signs up right now, it's a fully loaded National and council fee. So National can govern what council charges and do the collections and the payout. They don't have governance over what a unit fee is. And I don't know that we really want to get down to that point where units are waiting for National to kind of pay down. So they might start to experiment with that in the future. But I think that getting, with the fee change and kind of making the priority to go online, they pushed it out for just National and council.
So Johnny and Jenny Scout, their parents are going to have to pay this combined National Council fee as well as whatever their unit charges, but only those two? There won't be a separate, the council calling up and saying, here's your bill from Woburn.
No, so a scout will pay, new scout, Timmy's gonna pay $80 to national, $25 for the first time joining fee, $15 if they choose, and hopefully they choose to receive Scout Life, and then $48 to council for the adventure card, plus a 3% charge for the convenience of using a credit card. So I think it's been a little while, but we've published it out. I think it's $150 or $156, something like that.
And it would be a
loaded.
steal at twice the price.
It would be. The language around how to sell that to parents and kind of the sticker shock. If units are putting out a good program and can explain, what the value is, it really does work out. It works out to be something, very small, like, $8-10 a month. Depending on how units end up managing their fees, a lot of units keep their fees low from fundraising. And one of the challenges that we see the PACs and new units having is that they used to be able to get a scout to sign up and do fundraising for popcorn before they've submitted charter or before they've kind of submitted those applications. And that gave them a little bit of an easy way to say, if you just sell $400 worth of popcorn, you've covered your dues for the year, and there was no outlay of money. So, doing this new method of registration kind of eliminates that extra incentive from the PAC to the unit to the parents. But we're trying to encourage units to either reimburse them the fee based on fundraising, or kind of work with some creative things. John might have some better talking points to how we've been telling units to do that, or if he has any updates on how we're working with units that are looking for assistance for some scouts. But yeah, so it's a low cost, fully loaded national and council fee, and then each unit is on their own to kind of charge what they need, and hopefully they're keeping those calculations within a reasonable amount.
Thank you. Mr. Pleva, welcome. Do you have anything to add?
Sure, and thank you. Sorry, I apologize for being late. We have a Eagle gathering taking place up here in Chelmsford, and I was able to stop by for the first half hour and then sneak out. So I apologize for being a little tardy, but I knew I was in good hands with Jason covering all the good stuff for us. Let me see. With just one point is to that unit doing their own collection thing. The one thing we're just stressing to the unit leaders is just to make sure you're explaining it clearly to the new families signing up. Listen, you got to go online. All the national stuff and council stuff is charged here. We do have a separate set of dues that are collected separately for all the reasons that Jason spoke about, just so they don't feel like, well, I went online, I put in my credit card, I paid, I thought I was done, and now you're telling me I have another $50, $75, whatever the amount is that the PAC or the troop collects. They don't get surprised by the two places to pay. So just make sure you're drilling that home with all the folks there. I think a lot of this will take care of itself, especially for the units that like to cover the cost or part of the cost and that sort of thing next cycle. As they're rolling out the new system, they're the folks signing up brand new are kind of stuck paying the money and getting reimbursed. But from what I understand, and we don't have the hows yet, but in the spring we should learn how. And I was on a call with some national folks a couple days ago, and they know there will be some kind of an option for the units to cover the fees. They just don't have that all figured out exactly how that's going to work yet. So it's kind of a stay tuned for more in the March, April, May timeframe, somewhere around there, when they have it all developed and they can say, here's how it's going to work, and then that sort of thing. What else real quick? Did you talk about the adult registration online?
Hadn't gotten there yet, no.
Okay. I'll hold off on that for a little bit, and then if you want to do that, we can tag team on that one. And did I miss Joe's presentation, Joe Aste, or are you still after this? Cool. He's got a great pitch for you guys. I saw him last week at the Great Eastern one. I saw Lucas Crispo at 2 other ones. So between the 2 of you, this will be my 4 out of 5 that you've done so far. And that's only because I was late getting to West Wind, where whoever was presenting there had already gone, and I was too late to hear them. So they're doing a great job with the Order of the Arrow. So stay tuned for that. Take it back, Jason, and we'll go from there.
So I had answered your question. Joe C., anyone else have anything else that they wanted to ask before we moved on to adult registration?
Oh, I'm sorry. Hold on. One quick thing. You did say if there's any other ways people are getting creative, especially at the troop level. You have tons of campouts and different opportunities where the scouts have to come up with $15 here, $20 there. Give them some credits towards those first couple of camping trips, and that's another way of kind of reimbursing them, the new scouts that way. I can be done at the cub level as well. It's usually a little bit more spread out for those opportunities to get the money back, if you will. But that's one of the ways I've seen it. The other way is, and it's for youth or adults when they're signing up, is if they're doing it at the troop meeting or the pack location. The treasurer is there with the pack or troop card, and as soon as they're done, get to the checkout phase, they come in and go swipe or plug in the information for the pack credit card or the troop credit card and pay for them. But that only you're right there with them over your shoulder, taking care of it that way. Those are a couple of different workarounds that I've heard about so far.
Okay. Thank you. So let's hear from the Pennacook Lodge.
We'll just do one thing before we switch
Sure.
over to that. Just so as John mentioned, another thing that we have rolled out, or we're kind of in the process of rolling out, is the ability for adult volunteers to fill out applications online, similar to the way that we've been doing for the youth. So this is in the kind of a pilot stage, but I think we're looking for the final hard launch on the 1st, right, John? Or have we already passed that? So one of the things that we want to encourage units, in addition to early rechartering, is just encourage, any adult volunteer that's signing up to go, go online and fill out their BSA adult application online. Like follow the link to register from the Be a Scout pin for the unit, and they have the opportunity to select that there's adult, and they can go through the entire process online. And the advantages to that are that they fill out the information, they can pay, they don't have to worry about filling out paperwork that gets passed around from one leader to the next leader to get signatures, and then sits in a pile and then eventually gets taken to the council office to get processed or gets sent in via email. And then we have the same challenge that I explained before with rechartering. We've got 3 registrars. If you send in an adult paper application today, it might not get through their pile of to-dos until sometime next week. And so if an adult signs up and they've filled out all the information, they've submitted their information for their query form, they can be registered in 24, 48, 72 hours, a pretty quick turnaround, for troops that, that's the gate there to get those adults out for overnight events. And then for packs, that's, let's get all of those adults registered, get them involved, get them signed up for training, and all the things that are necessary to put this program together. So one of the barriers that we had was, being able to do the query. So there is a workflow. I think we've sent out a couple emails to Key 3 on this as well, but it's really an extra step where, when an adult, hopefully they're coming to the Key 3 or coming to some leader in a unit, expressing their desire to be a member of that unit. When they're asking like, how do I sign up? We should be instructing them to, how to do that, but then also that they need to fill out some query information and submit that to council. And so if they submit the information to council, when their application comes in and the committee chair is looking at it with the chartered org rep, they can say, have you sent that in? If they have, they can process that. Otherwise, they should be reminding them to send that in, because if an accepted application makes it to council and the registrars don't see that person has the query information on file, they'll just suspend the application until they get that information. So let's make it, kind of a quick and easy process. We would do that if it was paper. We'd have people, fill up that information and we'd attach to the application. So this will become just as easy, but at the end result, we'll have these adults signed up within days instead of weeks. John?
Okay, thank you.
Yep, just a couple of things to piggyback onto that. I think so far it's been going relatively well. People are getting used to how to share the links to use to get to the online registration. That's for both youth and adults. They've gotten pretty good at the approval process and all that sort of stuff. What we did find, at least initially, was folks were missing the how to get the query to us. And we had an article in last Friday's newsletter, kind of as a reminder. It's been sent out to the key threes as well, but we have a specific Jot form link, which is a secure portal for them to log in. It asks all the questions that will be on the paper application, and then it's just submitted to us that way. As part of the process, they upload the picture of their photo ID, and it's been going very well. Like Jason says, it's about 24, 48 hours from once we know that we've got the query form, you're good to go. And the way we handle it at the office is we get the application and we get the query, and you can start at that point, go ahead and go. We run the queries. Usually they come back the same day, so it's a pretty quick turnaround. If there's sometimes a little bit of a delay. If we ever had an issue when we have back up, in the cases where we do have issues with the query coming back that need to be addressed and timeout for the person that's applying, we notify the unit right away. We notify the individual right away saying, hey, something came up on the query. We got to chat about this before we reinstate you. So they'll get suspended at that point. Most of the time the queries go through with no issue, and it's just part of the regular process. And that, like Jason said, is how it's been handled with the paper forms for the last bunch of years. So this isn't a new concept or a new idea. And again, from the speed, from the more likely to have the correct information and all of the information on the application. That's another benefit of doing the online process. So many times we get someone goes on, sends in the paper applications and it's missing part of the social security number, or they left out the birthday, or the handwriting is like mine, and poor Denise and Marion are trying to do analysis of what exactly it says on the piece of paper. It's speed, accuracy, privacy. The person is the one that's logging it into the system. It's not being on a piece of paper that goes to the den leader or the cub master or the assistant scout master to whoever brings it down to the office, and it's switching hands and many different sets of eyes that could be looking at all that information. It's really just, I'm in the system, it's good to go. And the approval by the unit. Those are really the eyes that actually see the information. Even at our side, as long as the YPT, which the system would stop them from applying, is good, and the query is done, the rest of the stuff is just passing right through to national into the system.
Okay.
So
Thank you.
so I think it's been going well. We're kind of in that little test phase right now. At the end of the month, beginning of November, we'll have it mandatory for both youth and adults. And I think it's a really good addition, especially on the adult side, because of how many times people forgot to do the disclosure, or how many didn't check a box. Well, now the system says, oh, you didn't click the the check here for that you acknowledge you're going to have the background check, you can't continue, or you didn't initial the little tiny box on the you know, the lower left hand corner and all that sort of stuff. All those things that are easy to miss. The system says, oh, hold on, red flag, you didn't do this, and this. Finish this before you push it through. So, and we thank you all for your patience as we all kind of adapt and try to find our way through the processes. I think this is going to become the way that it's across the country. You know, on the call I was on the other day, there was a couple of other councils that were sharing that they just, you know, made that switch to mandatory online for everybody, and they've been seeing the benefit as well. So thank you for your patience as we make our way through this change.
Thank you very much. Really appreciate you guys coming down. Okay, Joe and Mr. Bradley, you want to take over?
Yep. Am I able to share my screen?
I don't know. Let me see if I can set.
You have to set him as a co-host.
Yeah. I don't know if I can do that because this is not my system, unfortunately.
Jim, talk him through the process.
I'm using.
I have a share a screen button on my. Let me see if I can pull up the.
I'm going to stop the PowerPoint. Okay, now, Jim, you try.
Let me see if I can pull up the roundtable handouts. Where do you want to start, Joe?
There should be a slideshow on the Google Drive that kind of contains all the handouts we would have given out if this was in
All
person.
right, let me just pull that up. Well, now it says disabled screen sharing here.
Yeah, I'm looking at a couple of menus here to see if I can.
Usually by the participants, you can kind of give them certain permissions. If you open up that, find Joe's name, and then.
Yeah. Participants. Joe. Make host. Make co-host. There you go, Joe. You're the co-host. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you.
Bad, from chief to co-host, just like that.
Yep. Let me know when you guys can see that.
Yeah.
We're
Yep.
Good.
All right, we're good.
Awesome. So first, I just want to thank you guys for letting me speak tonight. One of my big goals when I was elected chief this year is really try to build the relationship between the OA and units throughout council. And I thought the best way to do that was to attend these roundtables. So this week and this past week, me and my team have been going to the roundtables to kind of give a presentation about upcoming events and like how your troop can build the relationship between the lodge and your unit. So the first thing that I wanted to go over was the position of Order of the Arrow unit representatives. So I'm not sure how many scoutmasters we have here, but how many of your troops have this position, but that scout doesn't really do much? Any of you? No? Tough crowd? All right. So the Order of the Arrow unit representative position can benefit your troop in a couple of ways. First, it's an official position that actually counts towards rank. So if you have like an older scout who's in the OA who needs a position that doesn't take too much commitment, this is a perfect position for them. Because as the OA rep, they're an active role model within your troop as they are a member of Scouts National Honor Society. So like wearing the uniform properly, having good outdoor ethics, stuff like that, just being a good role model all around. It also allows your unit to have a better relationship with OA. So I know last year, Troop 30 in Watertown, they had a giant service event for like what was it, a food bank. And they wanted some older scouts to come and help out because they have a younger troop. So they reached out to the OA and we sent about 7 to 10 scouts from the OA to help run this food bank, which was an awesome service event. And we are always more than happy to come down and help out your troops with service events or even anything. This can also help retain older scouts if they have like an active position to kind of like keep coming to troop meetings. Because I know once you get older, especially at like my age, troop meetings kind of get, I don't want to say boring, but after going to them for so many years, they can get kind of boring. So this kind of gives them a role where they have to be a role model and really encourage these scouts to like be in uniform properly and like be like using outdoor ethics and stuff like that. Also having a OA rep like helps you OA members in your unit, helps them get informed about upcoming events, especially service days, which depending on the troop can count towards rank advancement. So if any of your scouts are looking for like service hours or even conservation service hours, if there's an OA rep constantly reminding them about OA service days, it makes that much easier, makes the info, what am I trying to say? Makes the info get to those scouts way easier than us trying to contact them throughout the entire council. We also ask that if you guys have an OA rep, to let them know that at our Lodge Leadership Development Weekend on December 8th through 10th at base camp, there is going to be a OA rep module that we're going to be running. And if you guys don't already have an OA rep, we strongly encourage that you find someone who's interested and reach out to me, and I can go from there. So the next thing I wanted to present is the OA this year. We're bringing back, so if any of you guys are veteran scouters, you might remember the Haunted Lone Tree event that used to be run a while back, almost every year. So we're bringing that back, but this time at base camp. And we're using this as like a fundraiser for our lodge so we can continue to run AOL weekend and do service for our camps. And hopefully someday try to lower the cost for these events so AOL scouts can come for a much cheaper cost. This event is going to be on October 28th. I know this says October 27th to 29th. That's the staff dates. It should say October 28th. But on October 28th from 3 to 8 p.m., you can stop by any time in there, dress up in your costume. We're going to have a haunted hike, pumpkin decorating, donut making, and have a trading post. It's going to be an awesome time. And adults, you guys get to come for free. But we are asking that $10 for all the youth and $12 at the door if you don't register online beforehand. The
Is this
registration,
an event for Scouts BSA?
So it's for all scouts, scouts, adventure scouts, Cub Scouts, and even friends and family. The haunted hike is going to be more directed towards the youngest, like younger generations, like Cub Scouts and younger Scouts BSA. But if you have any older scouts in OA who would love to help staff, it is going to be an awesome event. Not every day you get to help staff a haunted hike, which can be a lot of fun. Registration is open. There's a QR code here. And then the registration link will also be up on our website at oapennacook.org/registration within the next couple of days. Also, at this event, one of our members, Piper from Troop 489, I think I want to say Milton, her Eagle Project is collecting a
Cambridge.
bunch, Cambridge, my bad. During this event at the check-in table, she's going to be collecting toiletry items by refugees, which I think is an awesome Eagle project. I wish I thought of that. So when you guys spread this info to your units, if you guys want to let them know about this awesome Eagle project, I'm sure that would help her out. And if you have any questions about this Eagle project, I might be able to answer a couple, but I don't really know any specifics. So you can contact her at piper24pullman@cpsd.us. And then finally, because I know you guys probably have a lot to do, so I don't want to take up too much of your time, I just wanted to put the slide out there so you guys can kind of get this info to the OA members in your troop. But NOAC, or National Order of the Arrow Conference 2024, is happening next summer. This is the second biggest scouting event in the nation, the biggest being the National Jamboree. But this is basically a giant event with trainings, awesome like scout fellowship activities, helicopter landings, shows, a bunch of cool stuff. It's a full week long at the University of Colorado this year. Pennacook Lodge is sending a contingent of around 40 youth. And for us, it's going to be a 2-week trip where we'll be attending NOAC the first week. And then the second week, we'll be going on side trips to Philmont, the Air Force Academy, Rocky Mountains, all those awesome events on the West Coast. And we're flying both ways. And if anyone's interested, this Sunday on October 15th at 7:30 p.m., there's going to be a huge announcement Zoom call with all the logistics, info, exact side trip locations, and all that fun stuff. So with that, that's all I have. If anyone has any questions, feel free to ask me, but that's all I got.
Joe, that's a great presentation. Thank you. Thank you for doing a good
Thank you.
job.
Thank you for letting me present this.
Yeah, Joe, I'd like to again thank you and the rest of the Lodge brothers that have been making the rounds, getting to the roundtables. Who am I going to see on Monday night up in Groveland?
So you might see me, but it
All
won't just be
right.
me. It'll be more
Joe
than
and
one
I-
Do a
night
road
time.
show. We can
We'll
be
see.
roadies now, you know.
Exactly.
Great job. Well done.
Thank you guys for letting me present.
Okay, will
Thank
you stop sharing? Good. Um, excuse me. When does the election season start? Is that after the first of the year?
So the OA election season runs from January 1st to June 30th. Our vice chief will be sending out an email in kind of before Christmas break with all the exact details, logistics, and how to schedule that election. But plan on it being between January 1st and June 30th.
That's great. It's wonderful to see how active the lodge has become. It's really nice to see that.
Thank you.
Okay, does anybody
We
have any
will,
questions?
we will also be having training for the election teams. A few sessions in December. If you have anyone from your unit that's interested in helping with elections, we need to get them trained in December so we can hit the ground running in January when the election requests start coming in.
Okay. Okay, very good. I'm going to go back to our agenda. Okay, well, the main subject topic for tonight on our kind of training has to do with outdoor ethics and the principles of leave no trace. And I wonder, how do most folks do this at every meeting, the outdoor code? Ben?
Yes, yeah, it's
Yeah.
part of our closing ceremony to always do that.
Okay, that's great. That's great. As you know, the BSA has partnered with the Forest Service and other agencies to develop a program based on essentially expanding this into a program, Leave No Trace. There's an organization which has a series of principles that they like people to consider and follow during their camping and hiking activities. Now, this is obviously geared more to Scouts BSA, but it can be brought into the Cub Scout level. And I think what Joe and I are going to try to do is go back and forth about how each of the Leave No Trace principles can be applied to a Cub Scout pack. So the first one, plan ahead and prepare. And obviously, the regulations, the concerns, prepared for hazardous weather. I know that there was a push, Joe, to get people to do the hazardous weather training, correct?
It is required for all direct contact leaders. So if you have master in your title or den leader or advisor or skipper, you are not trained. You don't get to wear the train badge unless you have that training, which is available online. And I believe lasts 2 years, but don't quote me on that.
Yeah, it's pretty quick, pretty common sense stuff. Yeah. The next one is something a scout troop really doesn't have much control over. Schedule your trip to avoid times of high use. You got to go on a weekend, and that's pretty much it. The next one, though, is an interesting one about your troop culture. The idea is not to have 32 people going down the trail at once, but to try and come up with ways to use smaller groups. The idea being that you'll have less of an impact of the enjoyment that others have in that wild place. Have people, I mean, what I would tend to do is if I have a hike through an area that has a series of marked trails, to have each patrol take a different route and have a common endpoint. That's one way to make it smaller. Any other ideas of how to handle that?
Well, no, our last backpacking trip, we actually did just split into smaller groups, and we tried to space them out because there was really only one trail to get up the
Mhm.
mountain the way they were going. And that tended to work as well. So
Yeah.
I know
Um,
at Powderhorn when we were doing some Leave No Trace hiking, we did like a shotgun start where, all right, you 6 people head off. All right, we're gonna hang out here for 10 more minutes, you guys. All right, you guys now. It's something
Mhm.
simple as that.
Yep, that's one way to break them up. Yep, yep. Obviously, this always bugs me. You go to the supermarket, you buy stuff that has 4 times more packaging than you really need. And then if that gets stuck in a patrol box or something and hauled on a trip, it's a lot of waste. I don't think this is a big issue around here. People marking routes, building cairns and things like that, but it does happen. Joe, Cub Scout version.
Cub Scout, we call this, instead of plan ahead and prepare, know before you go. And when we talk about Cub Scouts, we're really talking about front country stuff a lot more than back country things. And one of the big differences, and I'll just talk about it here because it's sort of overarching and needs to be part of your plan, is that in the back country, you want to disperse your impact, right? You want to go in small groups and take as many trails as possible and do as little impact as possible. In the front country, where your Cub Scouts are going to be camping, you want to concentrate the impact in what's already there, right? There's no point in building a Leave No Trace fire pit when there's a fire pit at the campsite that you rented because you're a Cub Scout pack and you rented a campsite. Use it,
Right.
concentrate that impact as opposed to trying to disperse it. You know, we're going to be talking about using waste. I've never camped with Cub Scouts where there wasn't a flush toilet somewhere. Use it. You don't need to dig a cat hole in the front country.
Right.
But besides that, everything else is pretty on point when it comes to
Right.
knowing before you go.
Right. Second one, traveling, and these are some of the issues that you brought up. If there's an established trail, an established campsite, campfire ring, use them. Don't reinvent the wheel. Want to stay away from lakes and streams, and good campsites found, not made, which is true. And as Joe, here's a summary of what you just said about popular areas concentrate, pristine areas disperse. And what does that mean? Well, here's an example. The left-hand side, a site that has evidence of little impact. You can see there's vegetation, small plants growing, things like that. And so you can put a tent there, but you're not going to keep it there for a long period of time. And then you have a Scout summer camp, which is a campsite that shows evidence of high impact. Soil's compacted. You don't see any plants growing there. And in this particular site, we found 2 fire scars in addition to the established fire ring. So that's not low impact. Next one, leave what
If
you
I
find.
could just jump in, because in Cubs, we call that choose the right path. And especially with Cub Scouts, when you're taking them hiking, this is oftentimes the first time they're going to be in the woods doing hiking, things like that. So definitely the things that seem obvious to those of us who have been scouting for 100,000 years, not cutting through switchbacks, not just running into the woods as Cub Scouts are wont to do, is all super important when it comes to choosing the trail that makes sense for the ability level, but also minimizing the impact on the, not so much the trail, but the area around the trail that the kids are going to want to, oh, look at that cool rock. Right.
Yeah. And what Scout is not going to enjoy walking right through the puddle in the center of the trail? You're going to encourage that. Leave what you find. This is, again, common sense. You don't want to disturb things. You don't want to move rocks. You don't want to cut down trees. You try not to damage things and not remove things you find there. that's kind of an iffy one in my mind, especially when you're in the backcountry, in an area where no one else is liable to find that pottery shard. I'm not quite sure. Obviously, if you're walking the Battle Road in Lexington, obviously keep your hands off everything. Correct? Yeah. And this I had to put in here. Here's an example of how not to do leave no trace camping. This is a picture from the 1948 Scout Field Book. In the upper panel, you can see they've built a dining room table by digging a trench around it. And you can see all sorts of neat camp devices that were built using woods, which obviously were cut from somewhere near the campsite. So that, yeah. Interesting question.
Oh, please.
When you leave a campsite, should you leave a pile of wood?
What kind of campsite, Ron?
Oh, let's do it 2 times. A scout camp.
Yeah, sure. If we got it, you know.
Summer camp, yeah, absolutely.
What about a pristine site?
Why are you
Not
burning
quite
wood at a
pristine.
pristine site?
Sort of like, a trail you followed, but and there's an established, well, it's still an established campsite and has a fire ring.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I guess one of the things that we were all taught to leave the campsite better than you found it is probably not a good idea.
Right, because if it's better than you found it, it's not you have left a trace, right? Obviously,
Right.
there's a difference between, garbage and sewage and whatnot, but like you said, best campsites are found, not made. So we're not going to be doing big old service projects to make it work. Is this it for Leave What You Find? Because in the front country, we've got some stuff to talk about.
Yeah. We have some more. You've got, right? Yours is what's yours? What is your version on
it
this
is
one?
called the front country version of Leave What You Find is called Leave What You Find, because it is very useful. And the big thing that I would point out, especially when you're talking about like the city park or the city woods or what have you, or the town woods, is that really cool rock that you found, little Timmy Tiger Cub, is really cool because you found it in the woods. It will not be cool on your dresser at home. No one's going to look at it. Nobody's going to care about it. And all you're doing is denying, Lisa Lion Cub behind you, maybe next week, maybe a month from now, from finding that same cool rock in the trail. So when we're talking about Leave What You Find, remember that the stuff you find is not intrinsically cool. It's cool because you found it out in the woods.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Good point. Very good point. Certainly disposing of waste, pack it in, pack it out. Wash the dishes away from streams, use something that's biodegradable, and either scatter the gray water or use a sump.
Yeah, we call this trash your trash. And the big one that every Cub Scout leader I know needs to learn is you don't throw trash in the fire just because you think it'll be cool. Take it with you. You brought in those boxes that had the food in them. You could take them out too and throw them away at your house.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Campfires. This is another touchy subject because a campfire is such an emotional part of a camping trip. What can you do to minimize campfire input? Well, one is use a camp stove, use a candle, a flashlight, a lantern, use the established fire rings. Don't make them bigger or make new ones. Many of the time in scout camps, I've found, charred wood piled up in the center of a fire ring. That's inappropriate. Keep the fire small. Use material that will burn completely. Consider using a fire pan or building a mound fire. Ben, have your scouts ever tried to do either of those, a fire pan or a mountain fire?
No.
No.
Uh-uh.
Okay.
We haven't.
It's kind certainly, it's, you, it's a cool exercise to put a tarp down, some mineral soil on top of it, and then put the campfire on top of that. And when all is said and done, there's absolutely no evidence that anybody did anything there. No black ring on the ground or char or soot on the stones. Do Cub
That's
Scouts make
interesting.
campfires?
Absolutely, they do. We call it be careful with fire. But the big thing that I would like to add to this is that if at the end of the night you are using buckets and buckets of water to pour out over huge logs and you're turning them because they didn't burn all the way down, you have put too much wood in your fire. Plan ahead and prepare. If your campfire is going to last for an hour after dinner, an hour to cook dinner, an hour after dinner, and then it's going to be lights out. You do not need a roaring blaze, at 4 p.m. that gets stalked and stalked and stalked right up into the point the scouts go to bed. That plan ahead, prepare comes through all of this. If there is wood left over, you've used too much, and the scout is thrifty. So remember that is a resource you are denying from someone else, maybe next week, maybe next month, maybe a year from now, but you're denying them that resource because you were impatient in making a cool fire.
Yeah. Many established sites, you find yourself, you have to go hundreds of yards before you find a piece of downed wood, which means people are using too much. Yeah. Now, I think in the first class requirement, you could be asked to make your dinner on a wood fire. Isn't that true? It is. They give you the alternative either on a camp stove or a wood fire. I'm just wondering how many people insist on doing that on a campfire.
We don't. I'll admit we don't. It's when we can do some cooking on a campfire, it happens. But when you've got whatever 30 kids on the trip, it becomes a little bit challenging.
Not enough coals in that fire pit for 33 kids, and then the 4 or 5 adults you've got makes perfect sense.
Right. Okay. Next one's respect wildlife. Don't chase the cute little squirrel. Don't feed the animals. And be careful about how you store your food. You want to avoid wildlife in mating, nesting seasons, and obviously control pets or keep them at home. The reason I put that picture up there is because the rare times a snowy owl turns up in Massachusetts, there is an extreme temptation of people who are wildlife photographers to somehow make that bird fly so you can get a picture of the bird flying. And that's the kind of harassment that should not go on in a scout situation. They're magnificent to see flying, but they look good on a roof of a building too.
In the front country, we call this respect wildlife because it works. The big thing that I'm going to have is if you're taking a den or a pack out even in the front country, you're not going to see any animals that aren't on leashes. But still, that respectful distance that you would give to a bear, you should give to that guy's dog, because I know as a den leader or a cub master, I don't want kids in my charge going anywhere near somebody else's dog. I don't even want them near my dog. And my dog is the wonderful and lovable. So definitely in the front country, it's going to be a whole lot more about pets. But you might see even squirrels and chipmunks and things that we might consider varmints. They live out there. Chances are they're not going to hang out with the Cub Scouts because I've never known a Cub Scout to be quiet. But definitely be aware of people who are going to bring their pets to walk around the same trails that are acceptable for 5-year-olds.
Yep. And in most scout camps, especially, the wildlife takes a hike as soon as the kids get there. So seeing something, and then when the scouts leave, they return, and that can get quite interesting.
It is shocking how quick that happens. I was up at Storer literally 2 days after most of the staff left, just because my parents were on a trip and I didn't drive yet. And there were like maybe 7 of us in camp, and just deer on the parade field, where there had been screaming children not 2 weeks earlier. It's crazy how quick they get back into the rhythm of, this is a safe place for me to be now.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's right. That's right. Okay. The last one, which is Scout is courteous, that summarizes the whole thing. You want to respect others, be courteous on the trail, trying to keep noise level down. I know that's sometimes pretty hard, especially with Cub Scouts. If you take a break, kind of get off the trail a little bit. Consider using colors that blend in, so you don't stand out. And obviously, there's an exception in hunting season. There are places where you should have an orange vest on when you're walking through the woods. And you should be courteous. Joe?
In Cub Scouts, we call this be kind to other visitors. And the big thing that I would want to stress to a den or a pack that's going out in sort of the woods is that no one, as cool as you bear cubs are, no one has come out here to hang out with you. No one wants to hear you. Nobody wants to see you. Nobody wants to trade stories with you. That they're out here for their own, wilderness experience, or, what counts as wilderness experience to a third grader. But just stressing that we are here to hang out with us, with our den, with our pack, with the troop, for say Weeblos who are visiting troops. But really just try to impress on them that no one goes out to the woods to make friends. They go to live deliberately, I think.
I put this picture in because this is an example of nature.
Did you record that on Revere Beach?
On Winthrop Beach. That's an oyster catcher.
I'm
there
shocked.
are 10 of them lurking around. They're on the way out now. But when they make as much noise as a Cub Scout pack when they get going. Okay. There are a couple of awards. Unfortunately, the Cub Scout version has got discontinued. But for Scouts, BSA, and Scouters, there are 2 awards available. One called the Outdoor Awareness Award, just to learn more about the outdoor ethics and leave no trace. The other one, Outdoor Action Award, that challenges you to improve your outdoor skills. You can find the application form and a brochure explaining the awards at scouting.org. And the other thing that's out there, which I don't know if you know about these, Joe, Leave No Trace, the organization, has cards with the information, and they have them for the front country, back country, and they have a whole series of special situations like camping in the desert, camping in the mountains, camping in a historical site. But they are available, and something if you want to promote this in your unit, something you could get a hold of.
Yeah, I've got them attached to my backpack, which is in the corner of the room. My wife told me to move that. I'll do that quick.
Okay. So
but they'll send them to you for pretty much postage, which is good. Great, hey, it's your first camping trip as after crossing over, here's what we're going to remember to do. A great thing to slap on the side of your backpack.
Yep. And then last thing, there's a whole bunch of resources that you can take a look at. All very good, dealing with these issues in quite more detail than we could ever do. And then the other ones, the one by Sigurd Olson and Aldo Leopold, are more philosophical about why it's important to do this stuff. And of course, some of the really good resources, in fact, are in the Boy Scout Field Book, 3rd, 4th, or 5th edition, not the 1948 edition that I showed you, the new ones. have set chapters on leave no trace and outdoor ethics.
And if
Okay.
I could just add, we were talking about awards. I don't want to take Joe's fire, but Troop Outdoor Ethics Guide is another position of responsibility that counts for units
Yes.
for advancement in Star Life and Eagle, and also the award that is now called the Distinguished Conservation Service Award is. I've never seen anyone with one, so that would be very impressive. Essentially, you got to do like 3 Eagle project size conservation projects, and it's super cool.
Yep.
So just be aware that that is an option for those scouts that really like this sort of conservation and leave no trace.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And you know, of course, counselors for environmental science can set the projects and the observations that they do for those merit badges, that merit badge, focusing on things like that. Yeah, conservation. Okay. So there we are. That was what we had hoped to cover. Any questions or things, discussions people want to bring up?
Just real quick, I popped into the chat. I forgot to mention during our opening commercial on Tuesday, October 24th, we are kicking off our inaugural growing awareness in STEM event. We're holding it at Lab Central in Kendall Square down in Cambridge, and it's kind of a springboard for us to get re-engaged with the community. Since COVID, we were not doing any in-person events or activities or things like that within the corporate world, and so we're trying to re-engage folks. We also have not had much of a presence in the STEM life sciences arena, and so we're trying to really target that group. I understand Ben works in the lab over there, so hopefully we'll see you stop by. You're welcome to stop by if you can just sign in so we know how much food to order. There'll be some light food, so there's dinner for you. And the way it's going to be set up is the first half of the evening is like a little mixer cocktail reception type thing. We'll have 2 or 3 science experiments set up around the room. And the exciting part for that is they're being presented by MIT Lincoln Lab scientists, but we're partnering our scouts with them. So the 3 different ones, one will be more a Cub Scout aged appropriate experiment. I think it's a bear requirement that they're going to be working on for that one. So we'll find a couple of Cub Scouts to kind of work with that mentor from Lincoln Labs. We'll have one Scouts BSA, which says it's one of the merit badges. It's going to be a requirement. They're not going to do the full badge or the full thing, but just a little 5-10 that they can rinse and repeat as people walk around and kind of get a taste for, hey, what you're seeing here is part of the scouting curriculum that we get kids exposed to STEM at all different ages and all different experiences and that sort of thing. Working on a requirement, having some fun without realizing, hey, I just learned this skill. So and then the second half, we have a handful of panelists that are going to talk about how their various companies, what their outreach program is, what got them excited about science. And as part of the discussion, we're going to kind of weave in the different outreach opportunities that are STEM related that scouting offers, whether it's the merit badges. So people could be merit badge counselors teaching the certain badges in science, whether it's being one of the NOVA counselors for the NOVA awards, whether it's starting an Explorer post, where it's a career awareness type of thing for the 14 to 20-year-olds and that sort of thing. And the moderator is Dr. Eric Evans. He is actually a scoutmaster for a troop in Carlisle, and he's the director of Lincoln Labs. So he's going to be kind of leading the discussion. One of the panelists is a scientist with cell signal technology up in Danvers. I think it's Danvers, right on 128 there. She's a leader in one of the Newburyport troops. So we've got a couple of scouters on the panel and then a couple of non-scouters, but pretty interesting folks that are going to talk about, what kind of outreach they have in their programs and how it all can tie together, and what are some of the struggles and what are some of the challenges that everybody's, how can we, what's the pipeline for the STEM and life science industries, so that, get the kids excited about STEM at a nice young age, so that that's their future workforce. So if you get a chance, it's really geared towards adults. It's not really a bring the pack over, bring a patrol over, that kind of thing. It's more of an adult conversation. We'll have some of the scouts there more to kind of show off the scouts in action side of things. But it's really geared more towards the folks in the life sciences industry. So if you can share that folder, that flyer that I put up there, encourage folks to come. Just have them sign up. There's no cost for the event, but we just want to make sure we have enough food and seats for folks when they get there.
John, is there
So
anything happening this month in Cambridge that might be more youth oriented?
There is. Thank you for asking. And someone just checked off. We're
David, yeah.
rejuvenating Merit Badge University. It's in conjunction with MIT, but not at MIT. And it is what's the facility just down the street there, Ben? CIS, I think it is. I forget it. We have there'll be something in the newsletter tomorrow.
Okay.
Regarding that
It-
event. It's on
it's
the 20. Good.
It's an opportunity for scouts to get introduced to a number of the STEM associated merit badges. Isn't that true?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
And game design.
Yes. There's roughly 360 spots available. 2 days ago, when we were in a staff meeting, I think they said they had about 220 of those slots already filled. So still some spots left, but there's folks from MIT that are helping present the badges. We're running into some of the logistical nightmares of trying to actually get on campus. So it's near but not on. And that is on the 29th, on Sunday the 29th is that event.
It's great. It's a
But
great
I'm teaching game
opportunity.
design, so come learn game design with me. It'll be fun.
There you go.
Okay. Well, I think if that's it, we can close for the night.
I heard there was a closing on the agenda. Do you have
Yeah.
perhaps a safety minute?
You have one? I don't have one. I thought John Bowl would be here.
Always wear your seatbelt. Always. Bye, everybody.
Okay. Good
Thank you,
night,
Joe.
everyone. Thank you, everyone, for
Good night.
coming.
Bye.
Thank you for coming to the OA. Appreciate it.
Cheers.
Right, bye
Ben,
all.
see you. That went well, Joe.
Yeah, I think it went perfectly fine.
I think, kind of a back and forth like that is probably a good way to go,
Yeah, especially for things that are, the same
common,
thing.
yeah, common interest.
Yeah.
Yeah. Appreciate your help. Thank you.
Yep, glad to do it. Until
Take
I can
care.
find someone to take
Good
over from
evening.
me. All right, bye all.